That's a good question. I actually served in the Department of Community Affairs under Steve Cyberman as Secretary. That's where your Emergency Operations Center is for the state of Florida. And what happens is, number one, we educate people to let them know about the disaster if we have warning signs. So if there's a hurricane or those type of natural disasters that we can warn you, we warn you. So the state, Mr. Foster is right, the locals do have a plan, but the state helps them to put that plan together ahead of time. Because if you mitigate the process before it happens, before a natural disaster happens, the state wants to know that you have the county first is your main operations, emergency operations center here in the county, and then the city has its own emergency operations center. And what they do is they try to link up so that they know within a 48-hour period what's supposed to be happening in a timeline so that we can try to be responsive to the needs of the citizens. Number one, you have to make the decision, one, that you're leaving or whatever you're going to do. No one can make you do that, but they try to get you the proper information. So, what are the roles? The roles are at the local level, you have your first responders. The first responders are on the ground. They're supposed to try to get you in or out or get your pets and other family members and folks to safety. Number two, the state is only the link to the national government and to the feds. It is the link, it provides a linkage to the White House. And what they do is they then send a letter and ask for a declaration of a disaster. The federal government at that point, who Craig Fugate, now the person at the Department of Community Affairs, who was your head of emergency operations here in Florida, is now the head of FEMA. And what happens is once the president makes that declaration, then the funds start to come in. What does that mean? It means that I think there's a threshold amount. I can't remember what the threshold amount is. But there's a threshold amount that the first, let's say $3 million is paid by the federal government in terms of cleanup and other things. But the local level, at the local level is where you really have to be organized. You have to send your plan to the state. So the local level is where the rubber meets the road. If the city and county governments are not in sync, you will have mass pandemonium. And so what happens is we get people in, we get them out, you try to protect the integrity of your community, and which would be very hard here at the local level where we live because we're in Eastland, we're an island on an island. And so if there's a category 3 or above, we're really going to have some hard times. So the answer to your question is, number one, the local level is the first responder, your city and your county. And they're to make sure that you're safe, you're in or you're out, and you have shelter. Number two, the state is the link between the federal government, and the federal government is the third and final link where they come in with resources to make sure you have proper resources to respond to the storm after the disaster or storm is gone. Thank you.
This was a question about the 10th Amendment. Isn't that fascinating that they had to amend our Constitution to make sure we still had some power? You know, I thought that was pretty interesting. I agree with a lot of what my fellow colleagues up here have been commenting. We really are lucky in Florida because of our tenuous location right in the path of Hurricane Alley, so to speak. We have become pretty good at organizing. At least we know what we're supposed to do in order to get ready for disaster. That being said, I think we need to tweak a few things. I am concerned about the fact that we don't have enough hurricane sheltering right now. We have approved of annexation of additional developments. However, we don't necessarily have enough of the shelter space. As these folks said earlier, we have a local plan, and you all are probably familiar with the fact that we have interlocal agreements here at the city level, at the county level, at the state, and with the feds. And Deveron gave a nice description of the declaration of disaster being the trigger so that we can get funds and additional resources from the feds down here to help us. However, I do think we need to work a little bit harder. I was very much concerned about the last time that an evacuation order was given at 1 a.m. in the morning, and we were evacuating folks from some of our mobile homes. It was interesting to me because Tampa had given that same evacuation order at 8 p.m. in the evening. I think we need to be very careful about that. As the only council member who participated in the Weapons of Mass Destruction seminar back in 2000, I called on September 11th to let folks at City Hall know who in the fire department knew what we should be doing at that point in time. If you will recall, there were a lot of planes up in the air, we're watching the towers burn and come down, and all I could think of is, nobody knows what we should be doing here in the city of St. Petersburg, because a lot of those folks were gone, and we had a relatively new administration. And I think we need to continually make sure that everybody knows what our plan is. Education is really key. The other thing we need to do, how many of here have signed up to be a Red Cross damage assessment person? And that's something I think we could do. Our Red Cross will perform the damage assessment post-disaster, and I think all of us should know what goes on in that process. We saw some just incredible photos out of New Orleans, and we don't want that to happen here again. But that's a policy that we could implement here so that we could help folks who are going afterwards in some disaster recovery to understand who or what is there. We have stated in our plan that we will evacuate Pinellas County in 16 hours. Ha! Are we all laughing or what? That is not going to happen. So Mr. Foster is absolutely right when he says we have to be prepared ourselves, because there is no way 960,000 people from Pinellas are going to evacuate Pinellas County in 16 hours. It's not going to happen. We need to be prepared.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, this is the time where each candidate will be given 2 minutes for a summation. And, ready? You all ready? It's been wonderful, hasn't it? It's been great. Mr. Gibbons, your 2 minute summation.
First, let me start by saying thank you for having this opportunity to come before you and spend a little time with you. I know it wasn't very long, but you'll see going forward the Gibbons plan that will include jobs, public safety, no new taxes, open and accessible government. Why did I choose those? All too often as I went across the city of St. Petersburg, I heard from people who felt that government really doesn't speak for them. It doesn't do anything for them. It does what it wants to do. I'm not a career politician. I've never been an elected official before. I'm not looking to run for the next office or looking for the next seat. I'm looking to do what is right by the people. I'm running to make sure that the people that have been told you can't do this or you can't do that have an opportunity to have a voice for a change in City Hall. I'm running because I believe that I bring business principles and business values to City Hall. For a change, the people should win. And so that's why I'm running for mayor. Thank you so much. This time the people win with Deveron Gibbons. Thank you.